subscribed, welcome back, my darling. And if you haven't yet subscribed, then what are you waiting for? We have a big giveaway coming when I hit 100 subscribers, which, who knows? By the time I upload this, we may be there. I don't know. So better be commenting those secret emojis for extra entries into that giveaway and be subscribed to enter the giveaway. Okay, let's go ahead and get into the trials of Gabriel Fernandez, part 2, warning. In today's part 2, we will be discussing severe child abuse and child neglect. We'll also be describing the child abuse and neglect. We're also going to be discussing rape, gang rape, and just all kinds of different sexual matter. We'll also be talking about hate crimes and being hurt because you are gay, or the thought of you being gay. So please, 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 if any of these things are hurtful or harmful or triggering for you at all, please, please, please click out of this video. I will have some other options up here in the tag, in the cards. If those aren't good for you either, please just click out. I will not care, I promise you. And we will see you in the next video. This video is that for only of adults. Viewer discretion is highly advised. All right, you guys, and without further ado, let's go ahead and get into part 2 of the trials of Gabriel Fernandez, where we break down that documentary and this makeup look right here. If you want to know how we got here and you want to see the second part, keep on watching. So in part 1, we left off with me letting you guys know that the DNA analyst, or excuse me, the forensic analyst that looked at Gabriel's stomach after he had died found these gray particles in his stomach. And so he was pretty sure he knew what they were, but he wanted to make sure. And so he puts the gray particles that he thinks that it was, and it's a match. And these gray particles were kitty litter. Now, you guys, like I said last time, not only were they feeding this poor child kitty litter, but he had no fat cells, none. He had no other food. He had no food in his stomach at all. All he had in his stomach was kitty litter. They were feeding this poor baby kitty litter. So at this point in the documentary, they introduce you to Gabriel's great uncle and aunt. And they're asking them, you know, did you ever like notice anything? And they were like, of course we did. Of course we did. And the documentary people are like, okay, well, did you call? Did you make any type of report? And the aunt was like, yes, of course we did. Of course we did. But they wouldn't listen. They would always listen to Pearl, the mother. And the aunt goes on to say that even one time they go out there and Pearl tells the officer that he's a liar and that he's been lying. And so the officer, of course, believes the mother. Again, mother. And she tells the officers he's lying or whatever. And the officer then punishes Gabriel, puts him in the back of the police car and tells him that if he continues to be a liar, that he will go to jail. I mean, bottom line, you guys, this was just one of those cases where the child was left in the dark. There was literally no justice brought for Gabriel through his life. I mean, every time somebody would try to help Gabriel and he would think, he was one step closer to, maybe going to live with his grandparents again or going back to his uncles. He always talked about wanting to go to his uncles or his grandparents. So then it flips to this scene where Pearl Fernandez is being moved to a different cell. You would have thought that they were taking this woman out to the yard to go shoot her. She was screaming and cussing and carrying on, and all she was worried about was being moved from her bunk and having her makeup taken away. You all didn't give me my makeup. I want my makeup. I mean, if you all please go watch this documentary, because, oh my God, this pissed me off so stinking bad. Like, the fact that she's even allowed cotton picking makeup makes me mad. So at this point in the documentary, they show you obviously, the media circus that came during the trial of Asaro. And, you know, I mean, it was just a frenzy, just like what you could imagine. You know, but everybody wanted to know why. Everybody wanted to know, why did this happen? You know, how did this slip through the cracks? And you guys, it wasn't like just family reported or just the teacher. No ma'am, no ham, no turkey. There was also a random security guard when Pearl went to go file for food stamps, I believe. And the security guard, in that little amount of time that they were there, said that even he could tell that Gabriel was being abused in that short amount of time. And so he called and got in trouble for it, for calling. Yeah. So during part 2, I'm basically just going to do like a brief rundown of what all took place in the rest of the documentary. The important parts, some parts are going to be left out, but please go watch this documentary, you guys. It is a hard watch, so if any of these things are triggering for you, of course, do not go watch, but it's one that you really just need to watch. It's hard, it's kind of hard to break down because it's one that you just need to see. They also show Melissa Fernandez getting up on the stand, which is Pearl Fernandez's sister. And she looks very young. I'm not sure how old she was. And they were asking her, you know, the same type of questions. You know, did you ever see any marks on Gabriel? Did he ever tell you that he was being hit? And she, of course, says yes. Yes, he told us that, you know, his mommy, and they called Asaro Tony. She said that he said that Tony hit him all the time, and, you know, he got hit all the time. And at this point, kind of like he felt like, you know, he was just used to it. It was his life, and he was used to it, which is freaking sad. And I mean, like I said, you guys, at this point, you know, she's getting very, very emotional. And she's just like, you know, she says at one point that she can't really remember certain things that she said when the case first started. And, you know, I could just imagine, you know, having a child in my family coming to me and telling me that something like this was happening, and you trying to get help for the child, and then it just falling through the cracks. Nothing happens, and this poor child, oh my God. So they ask her, you know, was Tony ever mean to you? And she says, no, he was always so nice to me. He would buy me presents, and, you know, he was just always so nice and very funny and da-da-da-da-da. So it's just very peculiar. There was never any issues with the other children. None of the other kids in the family had any issues. It was literally only Gabriel. And that's what led so many people to suspect a hate crime. Because why would there only be issues with this one child? But the only difference in Gabriel and all the other children is that they thought Gabriel was gay because he loved his uncles who were also gay. So like I mentioned in part 1, a lot of people thought that most of this was all Pearl's doing. Even people in the family thought it was. Now, don't get me wrong. Nobody thought that Tony was innocent or Asaro was innocent. But they thought that Pearl had a lot to do with this, because they said that they even had one of Pearl's ex-boyfriends, which was with her when she had Gabriel and helped name Gabriel. They had him up on the stand, and they were talking about how she would beat him up and like spit in his face and like was just like not a good person at all. And so a lot of people thought that Pearl was like the Black Widow. Like she had Tony, who was just infatuated with her, and she knew that she could have him do all of her dirty bidding, anything that she wanted, she could have him do. At this point in the documentary, there is a psychiatrist there, and she's talking about Pearl and her diagnosis and everything, and says that she has like an educational disorder and that there is a long line of different things that has been claimed to have happened to Pearl Fernandez, such as gang rape, attempted rape, different things like that. And so this psychiatrist said that, you know, while it is no excuse for what Pearl and Azaro did, that Pearl did have a lot of mental disabilities, and that could even like keep her from loving someone. It's a really hard one. It's a hard one because do we really know what actually really happened? No. Then they catch up with one of the uncles that had custody of Gabriel when he was first born. And he has been deported back to Mexico. So they go to Mexico to go catch up with him, and they're, you know, asking him all these questions, you know, like, how did you all end up with Gabriel? And he says, well, when Pearl found out she was pregnant, he claims that her parents did not want her to have Gabriel. They wanted her off the bat to have an abortion. And because they obviously couldn't have kids, Michael and David, they asked Pearl if she would have Gabriel and they would raise him from there. She wouldn't have to do anything. They would raise him completely if she would just have Gabriel. And so that's what she did. She had Gabriel for Michael and David. And they raised Gabriel, like I said in part 1, until he was 3 years old. And then at that point, that's when his grandparents took him. And Michael says the reason why the grandparents took Gabriel when he was at that age was because the grandfather didn't think that 2 gay men should be raising a child. Now also, you guys, like I said, Pearl had 2 other children. 2. There was Ezekiel and Virginia, and there was no known abuse ever to Ezekiel. There was apparently one time it had been reported that Pearl hit Virginia once, but neither one of them got any of the suffering or torment like Gabriel got. Nowhere near. They also show these clippings of Pearl in court with Azaro, and she's just like screaming at him, like calling him a liar. Why are you saying this? You're a liar. Da, 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 da. Like, just crazy. And one of the people who stuck out to me quite a bit in the documentary was the teacher that Gabriel had. Now, like I said, you guys, she called to DCS many times, several times. Gabriel would come in with black eyes. I'll show you a picture on the screen right now where he looked, she said, the worst of the worst. He had black eyes. He had where his hair was like cut odd. He had like little scars. There were just marks all over him. She said he literally had marks all over him. And nothing ever got done. Every time that DCS would come out, nothing would ever happen. And so Gabriel finally asked her, you know, quit calling those ladies to come out to the house, because every time you do, it gets worse. And she said before that, he would like scream and cry, did not want to get on the bus. He would beg the teacher, please do not put me on the bus. I don't want to go home. Please, please, please. And she said she was, you know, stuck between this rock and a hard place, because the principal told her, you cannot investigate. All you can do is call and make the report. You cannot investigate. So she really had no other option here. She was literally in between a rock and a hard place, like I said. So I couldn't really remember if I told you guys this in the last Beauty and Documentary Breakdown, but they ended up wiring these holding cells before court. And the investigator knew that they were going to be doing this. They wanted to see, you know, what they would say to one another. Now, the wiring in Pearl's sale worked. The one in Asaro's did not. So you can hear that it's before court, and you can hear Pearl. And she's like, baby, what did you tell them? You know, what did you say? They're thinking that I did this. You've got to tell them this, you know. You've got to do this. And after she tells Azaro everything that, you know, she wants him to say, she then starts talking to him dirty. How someone could go from talking about their dead child to sex. Anybody who could just do anything like this is just, oh my God. She goes and talks about how, you remember that video that you had of me on the bed? Think about that. Think about me being on the bed. And this leads investigators to believe that this was all just a big form of foreplay for them. That they got off on this and that this was something that they enjoyed. Now that, of course, is just a theory, but that is something that they do mention in the documentary. So then they talk about this incident, okay? Now, remember, this is after the teacher has already made reports, okay? And this is when Stephanie Rodriguez, the social worker, is involved. And Pearl it's actually a caseworker that's out there to speak with Pearl, and she shows the caseworker this note that Gabriel has wrote. And it's basically talking about he will kill himself for his mommy. I love you, so I'll kill myself. Okay? So, of course, the social worker that's out there is stunned by this. And so she calls Stephanie Rodriguez and says, hey, I'm out here at this address, and Gabriel has written this note, you know, saying that he will kill himself for his mom. Now, Stephanie Rodriguez is like, oh, well, has he tried to do anything here lately? They're like, no. And she's like, okay, well, let me talk to Pearl. And so Pearl gets on the phone, and Pearl's like, oh, no, he just talked about it a couple of times, but he ain't talked about it since. I think it was just something that he was trying to do for attention. And they were always, this just irritates me so bad. They would talk about so much how Gabriel was a liar. And they would make sure that everybody, the first thing that they knew about Gabriel was that he was a liar. Always a liar. Liar, liar, liar. That's all he knows how to do is lie. He's such a liar. Da, 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 da. It's just so disgusting. It's so sad and so disgusting, and my heart breaks for this poor little innocent baby boy. So they did nothing. They did nothing. Once again, Pearl was listened to. Nothing ever come of him writing this letter. Nothing. And what's sad, the teacher, when she's talking to Netflix, she talks about the last project that they had before Gabriel was killed. And it was Mother's Day. So it was a Mother's Day project. And Gabriel made his mother a card. I will put a picture right now of him holding up the MOM. And he writes, and she kept this. She still has it to this day. Because it was left on Gabriel's desk. He never came back to school to take it to his mom. And he says, I love my mommy because she's beautiful. I love my mommy because she's pretty. I love my mommy because she loves me. And then there's these coupons that they made for their moms for Mother's Day. Things that you know, for instance, this will be good for me to take out the garbage. This will be good for me to, you know, do the dishes one night. Whatever, you know, stuff like that. At least that's what other kids were writing. You know what I'm saying? And then the teacher sees Gabriel's. And one of his coupons says, I will be good. I will be good. That's all he wanted. All he wanted was to prove to them that he was good. He wanted everybody, and his aunt even says this, he wanted everybody to know that he was good. Everybody. Especially his mother. It's just, oh my God. It pisses me off, really. Pisses me off. With the teacher, like I said, she called many times. So she talks about the first time that Gabriel ever came up to her and, you know, mentioned anything happening. And she said, of course, you know, she noticed the day that he came in and asked this stuff, you know, that something had definitely happened. And he said, quote, "Should I get whipped with a belt?" End quote. And the teacher said, "Well, I don't know. You know, sometimes parents do that, you know, but I don't really know." And then he says, quote, "Should I bleed?" And Jennifer, the teacher, she says, "Well, what do you mean, should you bleed?" And he said, "On my bottom, should I bleed when I get spanked on my bottom?" And she said, "Absolutely not." And so she calls DCS, and she had never had to report anything before. So she said at first when she calls, she's like, "Hey, I don't know if, you know, this is even reportable, but, you know, it feels to me like it is. So I just, you know, wanted to call, because if I don't, I'm going to be thinking about this all day." And so the person on the other end of the line is like, "Okay, well, you know, what's going on?" And she says, "Well, there's a little boy in my class, and he asked me," and she repeats, you know, what Gabriel said. And the guy says, "Absolutely, that's reportable." So that's when caseworkers started going out there. They also, at this point, talk about how when something happens to a child, okay, and DCS comes out and checks the child, if the child has so much as a scratch on their body, the DCS worker has to have the child looked at by a medical hub. And depending on where you are, there's medical hubs everywhere. The caseworker tells you where to take the child. And at that point, the doctor will then, you know, check the child and make sure that whatever the parent is saying happened lines up with, you know, the injuries, okay? And all of the caseworkers, all of the DCS workers, all of these people involved, police officers, Gabriel was never taken to the hospital or a medical hub to be checked on until the day he was murdered. And see, what should have happened was a warrant. A warrant should have been obtained for Gabriel to be seen by a medical hub through DCS. No warrant was ever even tried to have been obtained. Nobody. And they talk to these caseworkers later on. You hear from these caseworkers, which I'm not going to talk a lot about because that's not what this video is about. This video is about bringing attention back to Gabriel Fernandez, because that's where it needs to be. There needs to be justice for Gabriel. All of these caseworkers, like I said in the last one, they were let off of this, all of them. So I just want to bring attention back to Gabriel. But they talk to all of the caseworkers. They play these tapes that from when they were interviewed with, you know, internal affairs. And they were like, "Oh, well, I didn't know." "What do you mean? I didn't think it was that bad. It didn't look that bad. I did my job. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Now, the only one that I will even consider maybe was the main supervisor, because he never went out and never seen Gabriel with his own two eyes. Never did. He signed off on paperwork, but he never went out and saw Gabriel with his own two eyes. That is the only person that there's a maybe, but all the other ones, no. You went out, you seen the child, and he was completely injured, and you did nothing. Absolutely not. So, all in all, you guys, this poor child was held in a cubby. He was beaten. He was called gay while he was beaten. A little child. Okay? Starved. Fed kitty litter. Made to wear dresses. Beaten with ball bats. Did I mention shot with BB guns? Shot with BB guns. Burnt with cigarettes. Held underwater in a bathtub. Yes, that is also mentioned in court. They show text messages. And Pearl says, "Oh, it hurts me so much to hold him under the water." Well, first, Azaro says, oh, where's Gabe at? And she says, still in the water. And he says, oh, sucks for him. And she says, yeah, it kills me doing it though. And he says, I know, babe. That's why I told you to wait till I got there. At the end of the day, both of them acted in this. Both of them. Okay. This poor child went through more than I could ever even imagine. And I'm sure a lot of you as well. At the end of it all, Pearl Fernandez would be sentenced to life in prison without parole. And Azaro Aguera would be sentenced to death. And as of right now, Azaro is still alive. He has not been executed that I could find. I tried to research and see, and I couldn't find him being executed yet. And like I've mentioned before, I just don't think, you know, if you've had anything like this happen, that you should be able to really, I mean, not express your opinion on the death penalty, but I think, you know, if you've had something like this happen and it's your family, you know, you should have more of a say, right? Well, this is the one case where, take it. They both should have gotten the death. Both. They were both just as involved in this crap as the other. And the fact, it's just horrible. It's just absolutely horrifying. Absolutely freaking horrible. Y'all, please go watch it. I'll have it linked down below. I always have whatever documentary I'm talking about. It's always linked below. So yeah, you guys, I did this one for you all. I hope you enjoyed it. But yeah, it's just, the rest of it is just basically the trial. And they discuss all the things that we've already discussed and come to the conclusion of life in prison for Pearl and death for Azaro Aguera. So now let me put my lashes on and then we'll get into my final thoughts. This one is a hard watch, like I said. I think it is one that's important to watch just because it's important for you to know that these things can happen and that things like this can slip through the cracks. And also, it is always good to bring more awareness to these types of situations and to Gabriel Fernandez. There will be links down below to not only sign the petition for the DCS workers to be retried, but also for the Gabriel Fund. I will have both of them linked down below. So yeah, you guys, I hope you did enjoy the second part to the breakdown of the trials of Gabriel Fernandez and this look right here. I really, 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 really am glad that this one is over, but I am glad that we were able to bring awareness back to the Gabriel Fernandez case. It is a just heartbreaking story. Absolutely heartbreaking and devastating. Also, I do just want to announce that next week's Beauty and Documentary Breakdown is going to be on This is Paris. It's going to be different. You all know that we normally do like true crime here on Beauty and Documentary Breakdown, but so many of you guys swamped me on Instagram and Snapchat and even Facebook and was like, please do the This is Paris, blah, blah, blah. So you got a week. Go watch it. Go watch it. Go watch it. Go watch it. It's here on YouTube. It's free. Go watch the This is Paris documentary. It is brilliant. She is so raw. She is so real. She is so open. She is so honest. Go watch it before we do the breakdown next week. Please do be sure that you have commented the secret emoji. I do believe we'll be doing that giveaway probably within the next... I'll probably close the giveaway by the end of the week, I would say. So we'll have a giveaway winner by the end of the week. Super excited about that. Yeah, and all my social media, as always, is all linked down below. Also, tomorrow, you will have your first ever vlog on this channel. Are you excited? Don't get too excited because you all requested it, but I told you guys it's probably going to be boring because I work from home and don't really go nowhere. I stay here, I work from home, and I film. that's my life. But coming tomorrow, you will have the first ever Morgan Shave vlog. So look for that. It does include my nighttime skin routine, so look for that as well. But yeah, you guys, until next time, bye.